Baku-Khankendi moving ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Live from Azerbaijan, stage 2, the longest of the week, 193 kilometers, no less. We had echelons and a peloton that's completely split to pieces as we make our way to the lower Caucasus in the town of Ismaili. That is our destination today. We started in the capital of Baku, where we had our finish, of course. Our start yesterday and our finish yesterday was in the town of Sumyat. We started with a breakaway of 4 riders: Eduardo Perez Landaluze, Jorbe Laurijse, Javier Garnik and Mehmet Kanat. 2 riders remained: Laurijse, who picked up the points for the King of the Mountains, and Eduardo Perez Landaluze. A counterattack came from Colombian rider Brian Sanchez, but in the end everything would come back together. Teams that were working hard at the front of the peloton were XDS Astana and Leaning Star, and those are also the teams that we see in the final. Sadly, we did have a crash there in the final, which involved Camille Bonneau, the number 3 of the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey, and this is the sprint. In red, the man from Belarus, and in blue, Gleb Syriza, and it is the man from Belarus who wins it. Schnirko is his name. And also on the podium, we find Timothy Dupont. A good win for Leaning Star, who wins the stage with Alexei Schnirko. Syriza Dupont. Schnirko, of course, in the leader's jersey. Syriza's got the points jersey on his shoulders. Here he is in the blue jersey, smiling. The man from Belarus, 31 years of age. General classification, of course, with Garnek and Laurijse there, who picked up the bonus seconds in the breakaway yesterday. He also wears the green jersey, of course, as leader in the point standing, but we will see Gleb Syriza in the green today. And then we have our mountain classification leader, the red jersey on the shoulders of Jorbe Laurijse. And one more jersey to go, and that is the jersey for the best young rider. And that was the man from the breakaway yesterday, the Polish rider of Mazowsze, Xavier Garnek. Due to the bonus seconds, he is the man in that jersey for the best young rider, the under-23s. And then we're back in the capital city, where we had our start earlier this morning. 1 in 4 inhabitants of the country of Azerbaijan live in Baku. But we are going to leave the capital and move towards the west. Here we go. A rather wide start on these open, big motorways that we saw. We go back to Sumkayit along the coast of the Caspian Sea, and then we move inland in almost the straight western line, and with the wind coming from the south, that means, especially in that first part, we had echelons. We had climbs to go. One is of the second category, and the second one also of the second category, intermediate sprint in Samaksya, and then a first category climb in Kadim, before we have the finish in the town of Ismaili. After 193.3 kilometers in total. We're back at the Sea Breeze Resort, 23 degrees, lovely weather circumstances. Wind direction from the south, it says only 8 kilometers an hour, but don't be fooled, because it was about wind force 3, 4 even, and that caused some serious echelon chaos in the opening kilometers of today's stage, that flatter section. We did the 2 climbs of the second category, I should say, both won by Lennart Teugels. He is now our virtual leader in the mountain classification, but we still have that first category climb to go. They're almost on their way. These are the slopes of the Caucasus Mountains. Of course, not the 4,000 something 5,000 something of Mount Elbrus, the highest point of Europe, but still quite impressive. The jerseys in a row, but we will only see one of those in the breakaway. Or the first peloton, I should say. But when we get to the live images, I'll get to that first. We have a few recorded images of what happened in the opening kilometers of the stage when the pace was very, very high and everything basically split to pieces. And that brings us to the live images. 43.2 kilometers to go. We look at Gleb Syriza, the virtual leader in the general classification at this point, and the only man in a leader's jersey in this first group. The peloton is the latest one that we got was about 6 minutes, but it has been quite the race so far. About 34 riders in that first group, including the entire Equipo Ken Pharma team. 4 for XTS Astana, 3 for Bardiani, 5 for Burgos, 3 for Nippo Rally, 4 even for Leaning Star, and 3 for Tartoletto Isorex, and then a few lone riders. My name is Jose Bain. With me is Michael Hutchinson. Michael, is this the kind of scenario that you expected for the stage when you looked at the profile?
Not really. Didn't expect that amount of wind. Didn't expect it to split quite so early, because we've sort of set out from Baku, headed west across the coastal plain for a bit, which I think was where all of our echelon chaos started, and then we head into the mountains. So no, I was imagining a rather more traditional feeling day, Jose.
Yeah, well, it is absolutely not a traditional feeling day. And also, Michael, if we look at the composition of the team, all the professional teams, the One World Tour team we have here, and all the pro teams, the second division teams, all have multiple riders in this group. The same goes for the 2 continental teams, Leaning Star and Tartoletto Isorex. But in this group, after all the echelons and the high pace at the start, you can see the huge difference in quality in this start field.
Quality and experience. I mean, yeah, most of the riders, I think, in this group probably just have more experience of dealing with those kind of crosswinds, those kind of echelons, and knowing the kind of critical seconds when you just have to ride at 800-900 watts to get across to the front group, because that, you know, when the echelons start, that front group can disappear up the road so quickly, and you have to make a very, very fast decision. And yeah, partly quality, partly horsepower, partly wisdom.
Well, you do know that Azerbaijan is very famous for its horses, so a lot of horsepower indeed. This is a man of the Solution Tech Nippo Rally team, Alex Balmer. Of course, a man who has previous experience at World Tour level, like quite a few of these riders in this group. He was part of Jaco Alula for a few years. He is only 26, the man from Switzerland, and he tries to go on a little bit of a flyer. If we look at what we already did, we had an intermediate sprint all the way at the start after 25 kilometers only. Henok Mulaberan took 3 bonus seconds, very important, ahead of Sain Bayar and Schnirko, who was still part of that first group by then. Then we had our King of the Mountains. That was won by Lennart Teugels. He took 5 points there. The second King of the Mountains was also won by Lennart Teugels, the Belgian rider of Tartoletto Isorex, meaning he's now got 10 points. He's the virtual leader in that classification. And then about 13 kilometers ago, we had an intermediate sprint where Aaron Gate took the 3 bonus seconds ahead of his teammate Henok Mulaberan. That means that our virtual leader is still Gleb Syriza, but Michael, in all honesty, with the climb that we now have to do, which is pretty steep, I wonder if Syriza can actually stay in that group. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I think at this very second, the man we're looking at on the screen is a virtual leader with 15 seconds. He's got over the group. Gleb Syriza, I don't know. It's a first cat climb. It's not an Alp. It's sort of 4.5 kilometers at 7%. Yeah. He's got a chance of hanging on. I mean, we could see by the way Alexander Balmer rode away from that group that the pace isn't absolutely on in that. It's almost like we've got a race reset. We've got a new peloton, a new race. Because he nipped away tidily enough, I thought. So they're clearly not absolutely on it at the minute. But of course, we're running into the bottom of that climb.
Well, that was 12%, as we could see on the traffic sign on the side of the road. An absolute wall of a climb. The average of this climb is 6.7 kilometers, but yeah, if you start with 12, that makes life really, really difficult. Here is our race leader, and yeah, we have groups all over the road here. Quite a few riders already abandoned, and one rider did not take the start, and that is Camille Bonneau, and that is relevant because yeah, he was the number 3 of the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey, and if you look at the GC, one of the favorites in my opinion. So sadly, no longer in this group. This is a third group, I think it was just indicated, with the Korean national champion here, Yebin Yoon, also with number 32, the only Burgosport pellet rider who's not in the first group, the man from Mauritius, Alexander Mayer. And this is also a second group with all the riders from Medellin, including, Michael, the oldest rider in the peloton, who kind of makes us feel young again.
Yeah, I was delighted in an odd way to see Oscar Sevilla as I live and breathe in the peloton and in this race today. And I'm always quite pleased these days if I'm watching a rider who was racing when I stopped racing.
Was born in the same decade, more or less.
Oscar Sevilla was racing when I started racing. He won a stage of the Tour of Romandy in the last century. How cool is that? Tour of Romandy in 1999, what a stage there. Second in the GC in the Vuelta in 2001. Still racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal. He started in 1998 with the Kelme Costa Blanca team. Remember that team with the likes of Fernando Escartin to name but a legend from cycling in the past.
Oh,
but Oscar
wow.
Sevilla, yeah, he's still enjoying his career very much. He will be 50 this year, Michael. He is by far the oldest rider in the bunch. And the youngest is a man called Yevgeny Kovalchuk, of the Team Vino North Kazakhstan region team, and he is he's 18 years young and 195 days, so that is a whopping 31 years younger than Oscar Sevilla. It's a little bit of a sketchy descent, I hear from Stefan, who is of course with Pro Cycling Stats on site, so hopefully everything goes well. This is the descent leading up to our first category climb, with Alex Balmer indeed in the lead. You can see 80 k's an hour. The entire group, Michael, of 35 riders were at the 10-second mark from our winner yesterday, apart, of course, from Syriza, who took bonus seconds on the line. So that made him the virtual leader. Not anymore, because, as you rightly said, this man is now our virtual leader.
And he's got nearly 40 seconds, according to the ticker. He's got nearly 40 seconds on the group at the bottom of the climb. He has just gone over that sort of 12% we were looking at a few minutes ago. That was an unclassified climb. So he just ticked over the top of that, down that fast descent. And any minute now, he's going to be clicking into the bottom of the climb. Bottom start of the climb at 36.6 kilometers. So he's just started the climb.
There is
climb
Oscar.
tops out at 32.3.
Oh, yeah. There he is. There is our man.
He looks the same, doesn't he?
He does. Well, he looked like he was 13 when he was 31. So
yeah.
He still looks awfully young. But you have to respect these kind of people, Michael, because it's not easy.
Don't know when to stop. Yeah.
No, that's true. But also still doing all these sacrifices to be a professional rider. I do admire it. This is what's left of the peloton, who are about 7 minutes behind our group. I do wonder who is still struggling behind this group, and what the organizers are going to do with the time gap, because we started with 139 riders, and you don't want to lose 40-odd riders on stage 2. So they might, due to the echelons that we had in the opening stages of this stage, be a little bit more lenient with the time limit.
15% today, I think.
Yeah, and it's a long stage.
I don't actually have that in front of me. I'm just remembering that from flicking through the road book. It's a long old stage, and it's got some hills in it. So 15% today, 10% the next 2 days, and 18% on the final day on Thursday. Yeah, which is quite a tough day, actually.
Yeah, the final day is the hardest of the week. Tomorrow is on paper the easiest one, but yeah, if we have wind again and echelons that might also become rather chaotic. We had one British rider, we should mention, in our first group, Hugo Lutz Atkinson. I always love how a lot of British people have double names. It's very, very regal. A man from Hexham, I think that is in Northumberland, from the top of my head. It is.
Lovely, lovely, lovely part of the world. It's right sort of beside, right by Hadrian's Wall.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, we talked about Hadrian quite a lot, Pippa and I, last week in the Tour of Turkey, because Hadrian himself visited large parts of where we had our stages. Apparently loved it a lot more than the border area with Scotland, and I can imagine why.
It's a little
Being
harsh.
on the Turkish Riviera is probably a lot more pleasant, especially 2,000 years ago, than being in the north of England.
I'm very fond of the Scottish borders. It's a lovely, lovely part of the world. But I mean, I agree. If you want to pop on your bikini and lie on a beach, Northumberland isn't probably the spot.
No, and maybe Hadrian's wife was also not very in agreement with the travel to. Maybe she did travel with him to Turkey, that's for sure. I don't know if she traveled with him to what we now call the UK. But
Turkey,
we were talking.
But I'm not coming to Scotland. Yeah, okay.
But we were talking about Hugo Lutz Atkinson, who was in that group. He represents the Euro Cycling Trips CCN team, and has been since he became a trainee in 2023. And yeah, if you ride on these kind of teams, you are a world traveller. This year he's been racing in Taiwan, in Azerbaijan and in Spain. Last year he was in Turkey, in Spain, in Japan, in the UK, in Canada, in Estonia, and in the Emirates. So yeah, if you sign for these kind of continental teams, you become a veritable globe-trotter, and that is what Hugo is also doing. But sadly, he was just dropped from that group. But we did want to give him a mention.
I'm going to say my friend David McCann rode for the last few years of his career on the Asian Tour, rode for Giant Asia, finished his career riding for actually the Baku cycling project team from Azerbaijan. And yeah, Davy raced everywhere. He was the frequentest of frequent flyers. Davy basically lived in airports and on aeroplanes.
It is something that really has to suit your character, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Davy, I think, enjoyed it. I'm not sure he spent too much of his time training. I think Davy kind of always functioned off of considerable levels of natural talent. And had a very successful career. Rode all the way till I think he retired when he was 40. Then was a DS for the Baku Synergy Cycling Project, which at one point actually had a surprising number of Irish riders on. Quite a few friends of mine rode for the Baku project. Matthew Bramir rode for the Azerbaijani team.
He
for
did
example,
indeed.
I think was where he started his career.
Well, we are now on the first category climb, and as predicted, Gleb Syriza is now dropped from that first group. These are the kind of gradients that Gleb doesn't really do well on. He's, of course, a big lad. We could see it in the sprint yesterday. He's now dropped from the bunch. So we have this one leader, Alex Balmer, the man from Switzerland, representing Solution Tech Nippo Rally being the bike brand that they use. Then we have a group of 29 riders, and a few riders now dropped from that group, including Gleb Syriza and Hugo Lutz Atkinson. So if we get a better view of that one, we'll see what happens. But this man could do something for the King of the Mountains classification. We know that Lennart Teugels is the virtual leader there. He's got 10 points in total, 2 Cat 2 climbs. But if Balmer manages to get the full 10 points on this Cat 1 climb that we're now doing, he will be at 10 points as well. And since he has a Cat 1 climb behind his name, he will be the new leader in the mountain classification. I don't know if this attack is going to bring him all the way to the line, because after this rather steep affair, Michael, what do we still have in store in this stage?
Well, we've got a descent, which I think, looking at the map, it's quite a small-scale map. The descent looks quite technical, actually. And then we've got a flat run-in for maybe most of the last 20 kilometres to the line. I would not be a fan of seeing a big group come to the line, because
yeah, the last kilometre is a challenge, isn't it?
In the last 200 metres, we have 2 right-angled right turns and 2 sections of cobbles. So if we get there, even with a group this size, it's going to be fun and games. And I suspect we are going to get there with a decent-sized group, because we're halfway up this climb. We've done the steepest bits of this climb already. We're halfway up, and there are, every so often, I saw a couple of riders dropping off a moment ago, but I think we're still going to get to the top of this climb with maybe 20, 21 riders. A few of the dropped riders will get back on the descent, so we may be coming in with quite a big group.
I said, of course, we had one Brit in the group. Of course, we have Callum Johnston as well, who's very much British and very much Scottish as well, and on good form. And the leading starting, we saw them at the front of the bunch yesterday, full confidence in their sprinter, and they are represented in that first group with no less than 4 riders, including Callum Johnston, Simon Pelot and Eduardo Sepulveda. And those are all riders who have previous experience at World Tour teams or pro teams. Johnston, of course, with Caja Rural, Simon Pelot with the Tudor, for example, and Sepulveda with many teams, including, I think his last employer was Lotto. So these are riders who are now technically on a 3rd division team, but of course they have ample experience racing at the highest level, including Grand Tours.
Yeah, it's one of the things we've seen in the last couple of years. We've lost several of the bigger teams. We've even lost World Tour teams in the last season. And there's some very good riders who just get squeezed down the divisions, trying to find in a lot of instances, trying to find a sort of a safe contract for a couple of years and then look to maybe move back up again. But yeah, there were a lot of good riders in this race. That group has thinned down a bit, actually. Yeah, probably about 20 in there at the minute. And Kern Pharma driving it. They've got the entire, as you said, at the top of the show, they've got about to get their entire team into that break. I think that we lost 1 or 2 of them. We've lost 1 just now, but I think there are 3 of them left anyway.
Here we are with Big Gleb, a man, of course, with some track cycling pedigree as well. I like the leaders' jerseys, quite colourful, and green for points is always good, because yeah, as cycling commentators and viewers, we're always programmed green jersey, points jersey. Yeah. And there's some races where they all of a sudden have a yellow jersey for a points jersey or a climber's jersey, and we collectively get very confused.
At least we almost always have a white jersey for youngest rider. That seems to be very consistent for some reason.
True. I do remember that in Sardinia, Michael, we had jerseys that basically looked all the same.
Oh, they were camouflage jerseys.
Here we are with Dani Pronsky and Arne Santi, 2 riders of the original first group. That is, well, whittling down, so they say, quite fast at the moment on this climb. The top of the climb indicated in the road book at 32.3 kilometers. So that means that our lone leader, Alexander Balmer, is almost there. But it was pretty clear that the steepest part was at the start of the climb, because it's becoming quite mellow here.
Yeah, just roll over the top. As I say, quite a technical descent. So hopefully everybody stays safe. And that road surface looks superb, actually.
Very new.
Yeah, a little bit like the Giro d'Italia in Bulgaria over the weekend, which had a lot of very new-looking road surface. That's not quite so new-looking, but there we are.
They run out of tarmac. Happens. But here we go, 250 meters to go for Alex Balmer for the 10 points. That gets him the jersey when we get to the podium ceremony. So a good attack here by Alex Balmer, who after being on a World Tour team of Jayco Alula, or Bike Exchange Jayco as it was called in 22, had to step back to this team that was called Coratec in 24. It was a late signing, if I remember correctly, so he didn't get renewed for Jayco Alula, despite the fact that he was only just 23, and then found a place with this team from Italy. There we go. There is a commissaire there, and it's Martin Bruin, the 80-year-old from the Netherlands, who I think he's even been lead commissaire in the Tour de France in the past. The man has got quite the history as a UCI commissaire, but he is on top of the climb right there. Yeah, if we look at Alex Balmer, for example, he was 4th at the Junior World Championships, Michael, in Innsbruck. The championships won, of course, by Remco Evenepoel. So a very promising young rider, second at the European Championships again, behind Remco Evenepoel, national champion of Switzerland. So he really stormed onto the scene, was signed by Equipo, the continental, the development team of Groupama FDJ, then moved to the World Tour team, and then, yeah, only 2 seasons there and never really got the chance to continue his career at that level.
Yeah, I very often have commentated on junior championships, and it's always just interesting watching the directions that people go in and spotting some of the really good juniors coming through. And I remember Alexander Balmer, and I was expecting to be seeing more of him in subsequent years than I have, if I'm honest.
This is our group. Lennart Teugels not in this group anymore to pick up points. So technically, he could still get that mountain jersey, of course, if he took the points as second or third. But he is a little bit further back. As we are sprinting for those points, one of the riders there of Bardiani with Kovili.
That was more of an attack than a sprint.
Yeah. Most definitely.
If it was a sprint, it was quite a long one. If it's a sprint, it's coming in installments. And look at Kovili on the front.
Let's just wait for confirmation there of the order of affairs on the top of the first category climb, where Alex Balmer there on the top of our screen already cruised through. I think, to be honest with you, Michael, I think that was the goal, to get that jersey, because to continue another 32 kilometers on your own is going to be hard, despite the fact we have a little bit of a cross tailwind. It's a southern wind and we move slightly to the north, aren't we?
Yeah, it's almost running almost in a straight line from Baku up into the mountains in a sort of an west-northwesterly direction. It's a very straight stage, which the journalists, the reporters always hate, because that means they've got a really long drive to the finish. If it's a 200-kilometer stage in a straight line, what reporters and commentators and people like is a stage that finishes 10 kilometers in a straight line from where it started, so they can get there in 15 minutes, have a cup of coffee and a pastry.
Most definitely.
Slightly harder work on the road. A lot of straight stages this week, actually, just looking at the map.
We get a little overview here of all the points that we had on the road, the 3 climbs, the 2 sprints, and the last one still to be confirmed. Of course, we know that Alex Balmer took 10 points, but let's see who the other riders are who took the points, and let's also try to assess who is still left in this first group and what they are going to do, especially a team like Baku-Khankendi, who've got plenty of riders here. How are they going to try and finish this off to possibly get themselves a win?
Yeah, it's just,
I'm just
trying to see how many of the current farmer riders are still in there, because there were a couple of them got dropped, and I'm not sure whether they got back on.
And the man who was in the top 10 in the sprint yesterday, so quite possibly the fastest legs, Ilo Segi, is no longer in the group.
Henrik Malubраhan is still in here, I think, from Astana, who's quite a useful sprinter. I think he took did he take the first intermediate? He took one of the intermediate sprints today.
He did. He did take 3 seconds at the first one and 2 seconds at the second intermediate sprint, and he is most definitely there with number 3. And yeah, from this group, one of the big favourites to bring home the GC. But we also have riders like Urko Berrade with number 11 and Diego Uriarte, 2 riders of Baku-Khankendi. But they put it on quite a show today for us viewers, so that is nice.
What we almost have here is, I think the race is just breaking up a bit with the crosswind on the descent, which is unusual. This is one of the dangers of kind of looking at a small-scale map in a road book and extrapolating wildly, is it looked to me like quite a technical descent. What I'd failed to appreciate was it's on a 5-lane highway, which makes it a bit more straightforward. But the race just breaking up a bit. I think a lot of the non-sprinters in here would love to just get a smaller group coming into the finish line.
Aaron Gate there with #1 after that formidable lead out yesterday. Still part of this group. And Aaron Gate, yeah, he won the GC last year in the Boucle de la Mayenne, so he knows how to ride for a GC. And for a sprinter type like Aaron, these kind of stages with 2,500 meters of elevation are within his capabilities, I think. Well, we have crested our last categorized climb, but as we can see, Michael, this is one of those climbs where the top of the climb is not actually the top of the climb. We keep on climbing.
Yeah, it kicks up and down a bit, and even actually when we get properly onto the descent, there are a few little kickers back up. It's kind of it's an odd contradiction in some ways. It's confusing watching it on this great big highway because the terrain is actually, it's quite mountainous. It's the sort of thing that if you were doing it in Western Europe, you'd probably be doing it on a much smaller road. Alexander Balmer is keeping both feet in this, mind you. We were speculating on whether his aim was to get to the top. I think maybe he's just hearing maybe from the team car that the group behind is not really working together tremendously organised way. And somebody said, put both feet back in this. You never know what might happen because that gap is, I think, going out again.
Yeah, there's one teammate in that chasing group for him, and that is Santi Umba, who's a good climber as well. Tyler Pfingst, I don't know why Thielen Pfingst, I'm calling him Tyler. Thielen Pfingst was in the top 10 yesterday, but he's dropped from that group. We just saw on our screen the confirmation of the first category sprint, and good news there for Lennart Teugels, the Belgian rider. He managed to get the 7 remaining points, so that means that he is now our leader in the mountain classification, the man there with number 102. So good result yet again by the Tartaletto Isorex team, who just announced that their lead sponsors, so both the cake company Tartaletto as Isorex, have extended their sponsorship contract. And yesterday already a podium place with Dupont, and they still have 2 riders in this first group with Teugels and Gianni Marchand. There he is with number 102. Lennart Teugels, our new mountain classification leader.
Rico Berardi from Equipe Kern Pharma attacking very gently by just going all the way to the far side of the big wide road and giving it a little bit of a squeeze. Very subtle, very skillful.
We see a lot of Azerbaijani flags on the side of the road. They're very proud of it. The current design was actually first adopted in 1918 when Azerbaijan had a very short-lived democratic republic. It was actually the first secular democratic republic in the Muslim world. It was not very long-lived, Michael, because of course the Soviets came in 1920. The Red Army invaded Azerbaijan, and then the flag of Azerbaijan was replaced by one of the traditional hammer and sickle variations that all the Soviet republics had. But after the Soviet Union collapsed, early 1990s, I should say, they restored their historical flag, and they did so on the 9th of November, and they still celebrate that as State Flag Day. So it's a national holiday. So we're very proud of their flag. Blue on the flag, Michael, represents the Turkic heritage. So I'm not talking about the country of Turkey, but the Turkic peoples. Red is for progress and modernization, and green, as we see in many flags in the Muslim world, symbolizes Islam. And then you still have the white crescent, of course, that we know from many flags, and the 8 branches of the Turkic peoples. So that's your flag. And then we go back to the racing.
It looks like Alexandra Balmer, flags or no flags, is going to get hoovered up. This group's just that attack from Berardi just produced a chase and a bit more organisation. Having caught him, they may of course all sit up again.
They're really making life hard for each other. We still have 26 kilometers to go.
I think we're being fooled by the width of the road, because if this was happening on a narrow mountain pass in the Pyrenees, you wouldn't kind of, it wouldn't look so peculiar. It's because we're looking down on this big wide highway that I think it's fooling us a bit. Because I think we're still dragging uphill at this point. Very, very shortly over the top and onto the descent proper. And for the minute, we're just seeing lots of slightly random attacks. I guess it helps that this group has such a massive advantage over the group behind. They're minutes and minutes and minutes behind now. So it's like I said earlier, it's like a reset for the race, and this quite big group has come over the top and onto the descent, and I suspect it might just be a bit like this for a few kilometres. It just depends exactly how steep the descent is when we get onto how technical it is. Alexandra Balmer is staying. I mean, it's worth staying committed to this, Jose, because you just don't know what's going to happen with that group. They're only 14 seconds behind, but I've started looking at each other again. We've now got two groups on opposite sides of the road.
Yeah, and if you look at the
back, keeps going.
Yeah, and if you look at the pedigree of the teammate that he still has in that group, Santiago Umba, he is a pretty decent climber, the 23-year-old from Colombia. And if we look at the profile of our final stage, Santi Umba could actually be a good candidate for a very good GC result. And why not win it? This is an open race. We don't have an out-and-out favourite. We don't have a Pogacar or a Vingegaard that we already know before the race that they are most likely going to win the bike race. And that makes it exciting.
It absolutely does.
If I look at the map, this might actually be the end of the climbing for Alex Balmer, our lone leader, the man from Switzerland representing Solution Tech Nippo Rally. And then we have what is left of our group of 34 that kind of just came together after echelons in the opening 30-40 kilometers of the stage before we started climbing. There's still a large peloton at 7 minutes at the moment, no danger whatsoever. I'm more curious to see who's still behind that peloton and what the size of the peloton will be when we start stage 3 tomorrow, which is also a challenging one, but a lot easier in terms of the final than what we have today. But luckily, Michael, we have better views here in the lower Caucasus because it has been really nice. These are the Nesimi Gardens. Hard to miss there with the giant statue and the art that we find here. It's a cultural event venue, and it's dedicated to the medieval Azerbaijani poet Imadin Nasimi. And it's home, Michael, the Nasimi Gardens, to a lot of open-air cultural events, like concerts and poetry and exhibitions. It's quite a long drive, but might be nice to put on your wish list.
One of the things that's making life a little bit difficult for the teams here is that it's one team car per team, so you'll have noticed we haven't seen many. Their team cars, I think, are all, as you can see, I think they're all issued by the organizer. But we've seen very few team cars in this race.
Oh, there goes the bottle underneath the car. This is Cristian Raileanu, a man from Romania, and he's actually one of a handful of riders who were here when we had the first installment of the Tour of Baku, where, for example, Primož Roglič had his maiden win. He raced here in 2012, the year that Yusuf Rigigi won, who's also still in this race, and he also raced here in 2013. This man from Romania, 33 years young, and this is his third year with the team from China, who have been performing really well. They had 4 riders in this group, and of course had a stage win yesterday.
They also have my One of my favourite riders is Alexander Salvi. He's a very effective sprinter, wins an awful lot on the Asian tours and elsewhere. But I mainly like him because of his astonishing resemblance to a Victorian strongman, particularly his team photograph from last year. He looked exactly like Victorian strongman, and I appreciated that very much.
What is a Victorian strongman? Of course I can Google it, but I would like your very lovely...
The turn of the 20th century lifted enormous weights in circuses wearing
with moustaches.
With a moustache and a shaved head and a spangly leotard, and his team photograph from last year is a very specific thing. But he was standing with his arms folded in looking at the camera in a very kind of Victorian, chilly gentleman's way. And I just thought he looked like he ought to be holding a bar above his head with 1,000 kilos written on big balls at the ends of the bar.
That were probably styrofoam.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Well, they probably didn't have styrofoam back in Victorian times, but you get my drift.
You know the vibe.
Yeah, I can see those images before me, indeed. 20 kilometers to go, and Alex Balmer is still on his own and really giving it everything. Now 24 seconds. The gap had dropped to just 13-ish, and he's just continuing on his own, really giving it everything that he has.
You can tell just by his shape of the bike. We talked a little bit about his history as a junior time trialist, and you can tell just by how he sits on the bike that he knows what he's doing here. The problem with a descent like this is that it does kind of favour the group quite often.
We're inside the final 20 kilometers of the longest stage here in the Baku-Khankendi Azerbaijan cycling race. Back after almost 10 years, edition number 7. And we have one leader, his name is Alex Balmer, and then we have a peloton at around 7 minutes, and a first group that is that was 35 riders strong, but is gradually getting smaller and smaller. All of these riders in that group are at 10 seconds from our sprint winner yesterday, Schnirko, who is many minutes behind. So we will have a new leader. So it's important to mention that Muleberan took 3 and 2 bonus seconds. Aaron Gate took 3, and those riders are still in this group. So at this point, of course, Alex Balmer is in pole position to take the lead. But when it comes to the bonus seconds and the riders in this group, it's the man with bib number 3, Henok Muleberan, who is in pole position. He still has got a teammate here with Fedorov, that jersey of the Asian Continental Champion, and of course Aaron Gate there at the front with number 1. XDS Astana did have 4 riders in this first group, but Gleb Syriza, the number 2 of yesterday's stage, got dropped. Very active in this group is the man with number 55, Simon Pelot, who is not only racing road, but also does quite a lot of gravel. And of course, we know him from his days being on bigger teams, Michael, like Trek Segafredo, the Tudor team. He's been with I Am Cycling in the past. He was always the breakaway man, Simon Pelot.
Yeah, he was certainly XDS Astana marking everything. Aaron Gate up the road. Will Abraham going after that one. They're clearly interesting seeing Will Abraham doing his own chasing, but I suppose there's only 3 of them left in the group now. Because I think he would be, if they could bring this to the finish together, I think you would be probably looking at him as certainly one of the sprint favourites. Mind you, Aaron Gate can sprint a bit as well.
Well, he was the lead-out man yesterday, but the last lead-out man before Syriza, but with the bonus seconds, he could also be in pole position to take over the lead, because he already took bonus seconds at the second intermediate sprint.
He did. Good point. Yes. I always think of him I always think of him as a track rider, and somehow I'm always a little surprised to see him on the road, because he was such a team pursuit, an Omnium stalwart. Several world championships and Olympic events. I don't think they ever won the Olympic pursuit with him in the team. I think they won silver maybe in Rio.
Well, we can look it up.
We can check.
Might be an Omnium champion as well, Aaron Gate. I remember him. I'm
pretty sure he's won the World Omnium Championships, but not the Olympics. So I think he's silver or bronze in Rio at the team pursuit.
Sorry, right.
I was a pursuiter. I'm always interested in who wins the team pursuit. I remember that better.
It was actually London where he got a bronze medal in the team pursuit with New Zealand. Indeed, you are correct.
In that case, he's older than I think he is. He's 35 years old. I thought he was a year or two younger than that.
Small beauty clip there of the Yuma Mosque, which means Friday Mosque, which is a common name actually for major mosques across the Islamic world, as Friday is of course the day of prayer.
17 riders I think are counted still in this group. A lot of XCS stand, a lot of Kern Pharma.
Here we are with Aaron Gate, the man with the luscious mullet. He is the world points race champion. That was in 2023, Michael. There was bronze, like you said, at the Olympics. There was bronze at the World Championships with New Zealand. Also medals in Madison with the likes of Campbell Stewart recently, 3 years ago. And yeah, a very versatile man, but he won the Boucle de la Mayenne stage race in France. So he can also do some good results on the road, and you can see there is wind again.
Yeah, no, there has been wind sort of since we crested the last climb. I think they kind of got over the top of that and over that kind of plateau at the summit that we talked about and down into this descent into the valley. I think there's wind funneling down the valley, because you see those sort of streamers on the left-hand side of the road. They're very useful. Do you know what, Yeza? They should have those on all bike races to help commentators.
Yeah, it's very useful,
extremely useful. But you can just see that that's an absolutely block crosswind. They're not, and nobody's really trying to take advantage of that, or they'd be on the other side of the road. Everyone seems happy to ride on the upwind side of the road, but it's still, you can see the way it just makes it easier without kind of putting in a really major attack. You can just squeeze off the front. It's just harder to sit on the wheel.
That is the jersey of Yevgeny Fedorov, the not only Kazakh national champion, but also the continental champion for Asia. It's a nice design. I like it. Johnny Marchand on his wheel. We'll try to give you the names of all the riders, but the composition of this group changes constantly, with some riders managing to come back. We do know that we have a Brit in this group, a Scotsman with number 53 there in that red and white jersey of Leaning Star. There he is. Callum Johnston, winner of a stage race in Uzbekistan only a few days ago. And he still has got quite a lot of teammates in Railiano, Pelot, and also Sepulveda. So yet again, Michael, the Leaning Star team does really, really well, punching above their weight against the World Tour and pro-continental teams.
Yeah, and they're a team that will have looked forward to this race as an opportunity to do exactly that, because they are, I mean, they are a strong team. You just have to look at their results.
This man is one of the riders to look at for the general classification, Urko Berade, although he probably would have preferred a real mountaintop finish. We do have a challenging stage on Thursday, but it's not a true mountaintop finish, more like a 4-kilometer climb to the finish line. So it will all come down to the seconds. Here's the composition of the group on your screen for how long it really takes. We still have that one leader up the road with Alex Bulmer, but the composition of this team constantly changes with the attacks, and there's quite a few teams with multiple riders represented.
Just
with Leaning Star being the biggest one.
Yeah, Leaning Star on 18 wins so far this year, which is not in the slightest bit shabby. Most of them at 0.2 level, which is the 4th level of racing. Alexander Salby did take stage 5 of the Tour of Hainan, which is a point pro in front of Desan Rajovic and Lionel Tamino and a few other people of whom you would have heard. So they've won quite a lot this year. They would be, and of course they picked up yesterday in a .1 race here. And I wouldn't be amazed to see them picking up something else worth having this week.
Yeah, most definitely. Why not somebody like Callum Johnston? If you take into account his climbing skills, he could do well. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're looking at quite a spectacular stage here in Azerbaijan with a group of around 23 riders. Oh, we got some balloons across the road there. Luckily, no issues there. And this man, yeah, he's doing fantastic. He's really doing well, attacking 30 kilometers ago.
Yeah. He's somehow in no man's land despite the fact there's nobody in front of him, because he's just hanging there at 24, 25 seconds, which is a horrible gap to be stuck at, because you can't ease for a second, you can't rest a leg, you can't sit up and stretch your back, you have to stay committed to it. And this group behind are doing it's almost like a junior race. There's 2s and 3s off the front, and somebody chases them down and they come back and somebody else goes, and then Burgos rider looks over his shoulder and says, no, you chase them. It's very enjoyable.
So yeah, we have got groups everywhere at the moment, and still Alex Balmer at the front all the way by himself. We've got the 10, 6 and 4 seconds on the finish line. So that is something to take into account. And he's still holding on. That gap of Balmer, Michael, has never been bigger than 35, 40 seconds on the climb.
It was bigger on the climb. And I think you were right. When he got across the KOM cream line, he sort of sat up. And then I think he realised the group behind was not really trying to chase him and got going again. I'm not sure that we have, I'm not sure where the team cars are actually, Jose, because there's only one team car per team. We haven't seen a lot of team cars. I suspect most of the team cars might be behind the second big group.
Yeah, apart from Baku-Khankendi, because they have all their riders somewhere up front.
Yeah, so I'm not actually sure how in what kind of contact he is with his DS back in the team car, because the team car could be really quite a long way away, so he might be trying to figure this out on his own. And I think he probably sat up expecting to get caught, realised he wasn't getting caught, lost 20 seconds discovering that, and then got his head down and went again. And if he gets caught 500 metres from the line, he's going to be a bit annoyed about the point where, if I'm right, the point where he sat up.
Yeah, the gap doesn't look like much. We have Fedorov there in that gap, the XDS Astana rider, the Kazakhstan rider, and then a few other riders here and there. Everybody going just full gas here in the final 10 kilometers of this race. Balmer is just going through that corner there, and then the man in the white jersey is Fedorov, and then that group was on a counter-attack with all the teams represented, taking a little bit of a flyer, although Baku-Khankendi seems to be the only one missing, and yes, that is why Berade is now trying to make amends and get to the front again.
And we've just got sort of little echelons beginning to form. Just little groups coming back. I mean, I imagine that Balmer is going to get caught just because of these little efforts. But you can see the way that it's just not consistent. It'd be very straightforward. If they got together, they could catch him in 2 kilometers. But there's just a lack of consistency, because it's a little bit, in spite of the kind of the teams there, it's a bit every man for himself. It feels like we're in the last 2 or 3 kilometers of one of those sprints where everybody just looks at each other.
Well, the last 3 kilometers of this race are actually downhill at 2 and 3%. So if you manage to stay clear at the in the final 3 kilometers, and it still looks like Balmer is on his own, you have a chance. And there's only 9 kilometers left to do, with Balmer still up the road. Fedorov is approaching, and then there is that group with 5 riders. I spot Aaron Gate as part of that group, but this is a good little overview, although they might zoom in just a little bit more, because it's like ants on a road right now. But we've got riders everywhere. It's good that everything, it is good that everything is completely split, because maybe we can remember the viewers of the rather tricky finale that we have with lots of corners and cobbles.
Lots of corners, lots of cobbles. Yeah, I'm trying to work out who, if anyone, is likely to be sprinting from Kern Pharma, because they don't really have a recognised sprinter in the team. Diego Iriarte, maybe, but
how many recognised sprinters do we even have left in that first group, apart maybe from Aaron Gate, who might be in pole position for a win here if he manages to come back.
He's doing a lot of his own chasing, though.
Because now he's got Fedorov in this gap, because that is the man with the blue helmet currently approaching Alex Balmer. He is, of course, a rider of XTS Astana, despite the fact that he wears the Continental Champions jersey, and that means that Gate himself is not going to do any chasing, that's for sure. Neither Balmer nor Fedorov picked up any bonus seconds, so they're both at 10 seconds. So that basically that is 0, because our race leader is 7-8 minutes behind. So on the same time at the moment, but Fedorov has to work really, really hard to get back to Alex Balmer, who's putting on quite a show here.
Fedorov's not the world's worst sprinter either, so
no.
If he got across and these guys stayed away, you'd fancy him pretty strongly. So I imagine XDS at the minute are playing their best spoiling game back in the group. This gap is back. Well, the gap to the group behind that's now 25 seconds. I imagine the 10 seconds is to Fedorov. He looks a little closer than that to me, but it's be hard to judge.
Yeah, on these wide roads, like you mentioned before, it is really hard to judge how far back somebody is, but it is really mano a mano.
That's 6 or 7 seconds, and he is inching his way over.
It is truly mano a mano now at the front, and Equipo-Ken Pharma are doing the work here with a little bit of help of Leaning Star. We find Muller Baron there in 3rd place. He's, of course, not doing any of the chasing, with Fedorov having a very good shot at the stage today. But this is also for the remaining places on GC, because if I look at the profile for the coming 3 stages, this is going to be a seconds game, and all those intermediate sprints and bonus seconds at the line are going to be, I think, in the end, decisive as to who wins the overall of this race.
As so often the case on sort of shorter stage races, the time bonuses, you have to go looking for them from the get-go. It's Diego Iriarte on the front himself here, so possibly looking to somebody else, or maybe just the first priority is to try to get Evgeny Fedorov back at this point.
And still with a gap of only 25 seconds to the leader and 17 to Fedorov, it is also still a very good possibility that the winner is still in this group if they manage to close the gap. But they shouldn't wait too long.
Yeah, no, it's 6 kilometers. Do you know what? It nearly feels like it's further to the finish, because we've got this big wide road. We're out in the countryside. We're only 7 or 8 minutes from the end of the race.
Fedorov is really doing everything to get to Balmer. This will have come at a cost for both of these riders. A little rise in the road. Remember, the last 3 kilometers in a downhill, 2-3%, so it is going to be fast. And then with those corners and those cobbles, maybe not the ideal finish in my book, but luckily we have a rather small group and quite possibly a sprint with only 2 riders, Michael. So that takes the danger out of the finish a little bit today.
Yeah, it's certainly does. And these guys at 30 seconds, I think they've got a great chance of staying away at this point. Balmer will have somewhat mixed feelings about this, because this ought to increase his chances of not being caught by the group, but he's been, of course, caught by someone that he will know has a reasonable sprint. So he's increased his odds of finishing in the top 2, but decreased his odds of finishing in the top 1.
That's a very good summary of the state of affairs indeed. Here's plan B for XTS Astana with Aaron Gate. And now it's up to Burgos with the likes of Eric Fagundes, the man from Uruguay, Carlos Garcia Pierna and Josh Burnett, 3 riders for the Burgos Burpelet team. Then we have the riders for Bardiani with Kofili, with Martinelli and with Alex Tolio. Berade, Odiarti and Elosigi Aznar, 4 riders for Equipo-Ken Pharma, although I do think that is not 4 at the moment. But yeah, just 4.6 kilometers left on this road, 3 of which are roughly downhill. Makes it really hard for this group to come back, but it's not over yet.
Probably not over yet. It is. Suddenly, there's a lot more organisation in this group. I think there was probably maybe a general feeling that they were going to get Alexandra Balmer back one way or another. But there's a much more committed chase now that Evgeny Fedorov has jumped over.
There's the trio for Burgos Burpelet, and there is our leading duo with Evgeny Fedorov and Alexander Balmer. Names on your screen there. 4 kilometers left to go.
That's a long, wide straight road. And you know what? Here's one thing is really nice, Jose. There aren't any TV camera bikes in front of these groups interfering. You know, there's no risk of that being interfering with the racing. This is kind of unusually pure mano-a-mano bike racing.
Yeah, and it's also, the gap is only 23 seconds at this point, so also not the time to play poker and look at each other, a thing that we saw on the second stage of the Giro, when we still saw a group coming from the back who went away with the win. So they have to keep on riding all the way to the line to make it and sprint for the win. There's a flick of the elbow there.
Working pretty well together at the minute, certainly.
Oof.
Gap opens a little more than he wants.
Just over 3 kilometers left in this second stage of the Baku-Khankendi cycling race in Azerbaijan. It was a really fast start to the stage where we had echelons, and we ended up with a first group of 35 without our race leader Alexei Shnirko, who was in the peloton and is in the peloton at the moment. And then on the many climbs we saw the group become smaller and smaller. Alex Balmer, the man there in the very colourful outfit of Solution Tech Nippo Rally, attacked at 43 kilometers to go and was solo for the larger part of the 40 kilometers now. Evgeny Fedorov just joined him, the continental champion from Asia. That's where he wears the distinctive jersey. He's of course an XCS Astana rider. He has got the best shot in a sprint, but if we look at this, Michael, he also has got the best legs here on the flat, because Balmer is suffering.
Oh, Balmer is swinging here. If this comes down to a sprint and Alexander Balmer wins it, I'll be astonished.
You'll eat your head.
I think it's more likely that Fedorov would go to the finish on his own, but he's clinging on. I mean, what Balmer's doing is what the pro will do in these circumstances. He's coming through and he's just giving a bit of a squeeze, a little bit of an acceleration, not to drop Alexander Balmer at this point, but just to make his life a little bit hard. And, you know, he comes through again and does the work. And there are other riders in this situation might say, well, I'm just going to sit in Fedorov at this point and put it all on him. Balmer is prepared to come through, whether that's because he's a gentleman or whether it's because he feels second will be worth something to him. But at the minute, this is very much about Fedorov, I feel.
We still have that group of around 20 riders at just 15 seconds from these two leaders, but the final kilometers are in a downhill, on a downhill slope. As you can see, the pace is really, really, really high. These riders are in the same time in general classification, so whoever wins the stage is also going to be our new race leader. The Flamme Rouge is there, 1 more kilometer to go for Alex Balmer, the rider there of the Solution Tech Nippo Rally team, and on his wheel is Evgeny Fedorov of XCS Astana. What's happening here?
I think he wasn't sure which way he was going, because that was the diversion for the
cars.
For the cars. And
now Alex Balmer has a little bit of a gap, wow. Michael. That is completely unexpected. There was this little moment that he doubted, indeed, what you said, should I go left here? Should I stay here? And this is, of course, the opportunity of a lifetime for Alex Balmer, who in every direct sprint would probably lose to Evgeny Fedorov. But now he has got that little gap of confusion. And there goes Alex Balmer. He attacked 43 kilometers out from the finish line. Fedorov is still doing everything to get back to the wheel of the Swiss rider. Final sketchy corner here on the cobbles. Please stay in one piece. This is a very scary corner, and Fedorov goes to the front. It's mano a mano now in the final few hundred meters. Alex Balmer versus Evgeny Fedorov on the cobbles here in Ismailiyet. Fedorov now in first position, and he makes it to the finish line. Fedorov, he wins the stage, takes the lead ahead of Alex Balmer, and then the sprint for the last place on the podium goes to one of the pellet riders. And Santi Umba in fourth place. But that was some final kilometer.
That was fun.
That was fun. That was fun. We love it.
No, I think Evgeny Fedorov just looked at there was a marshal directing cars off to the right, and I think he just for a second doubted left, right, paused, and Alexander Balmer opened up that gap that was so nearly enough. So nearly enough.
Well, the big boss of the team is, of course, here, Alexander Vinokurov. He will be very pleased because this stage is for his team, and he's also the new leader, Yevgeny Fedorov. We also have a new King of the Mountains in Leonard Teugels. And when we get to the points jersey, we'll probably have to look at the classification. But this man, wow, what a show. Alex Balmer attacking on that first category climb, holding on to a gap of 40, 30, 25, 20 seconds on his own.
Yeah.
Almost winning the stage when Fedorov misjudged that corner there, or thought that he had to go left, but it was straight. This is a bittersweet second place for Alex Balmer.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen him win that, because he took it on, he attacked, he was out there for 40 kilometers on his own. And I thought I thought maybe he just got a little bit of a gift when Fedorov hesitated about which way to go. But yeah, there will have been a moment when he realized Fedorov wasn't on his wheel, and he thought this was all just laid out in front of him.
We almost want to give him a virtual hug, don't we?
Yeah, yes.
I'm happy it was a small group or a sprint of just 2, because those corners, that was not the finish I would have chosen on these cobbles in the center of town.
We've seen a few questionable finishes this year, I feel, Yusa.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like he's smiling again. He will, of course, be second on GC, and still everything is quite open, because he is the better climber when you compare him to Fedorov. Tomorrow's going to be a flat finish. Wednesday is going to be a flat finish. But if we look at Thursday, the final is 2.7 kilometers at 5%, Michael. So I would give more chances to Balmer than to Fedorov on a finish uphill. But of course, quite a large group is still.
The gaps they obviously have the time bonuses, but the group is only a couple of seconds behind.
Exactly.
People like Rico Berardi, Hugo Aznar. Really pretty respectable climbers in the group.
Still everything to play for. But well played by XDS Astana, who had 4 riders in that first split after the echelons. And yeah, they do finish it off. A rather entertaining finale to a very entertaining stage. And this man gets to get a new jersey, the blue leaders jersey here in the Baku-Khankendi Azerbaijan cycling race. Yevgeny Fedorov, one of the, I think, 3 remaining Kazakh riders on the XDS Astana World Tour team.
He was also a little fortunate in Alexander Balmer took quite a wide line around that fat last corner. I think it was a little sharper than he was expecting, which gave Fedorov a chance to nip inside him, because he gained a few meters there too. He He was very fortunate.
Waiting for a flash interview with Yevgeny Fedorov, the 26-year-old. And this is his 12th professional win. The last time was, of course, well, not of course, but the last time was the Asian Continental Championship, where he took a double title, also in the time trial. And the last time he actually won a road stage, Michael, so not a championship, was in 2020 in the opening stage of the Tour of Rwanda. All his other wins, bar 3 now, the opening stage in Langkawi, Rwanda, and now this one, were national or continental championships for Fedorov.
And it would have been Alexander Balmer's first pro win if he'd managed to hang on. Which is
make matters worse there for him.
Even sadder for him.
Ah.
That's a real shame.
Let's look at that final kilometre yet again, Michael. Take us through it.
Yeah, this is the point where Fedorov, we're pretty sure, was unsure what direction the race was going. So he let this, it's a big gap. Look at that. That's kind of, it's a good couple of seconds and he's back in full chase mode. And Alexander Balmer at this point knows he's not there. So suddenly it's back to a mano. It's like it was at the bottom of the descent where Fedorov is chasing up. We have this quite substantial pause. And
building suspense.
Alexander Balmer still has a decent gap at this point, but he comes into this corner. He runs a little bit wide through here. Just not, I don't know if he doesn't quite know how sharp the corner is or he's unsure of his grip on the cobbles, but it gives Fedorov the opportunity and he just gets level at that point. And they open up the sprint as soon as they see the line, but at this point they're almost on the line. It's only 100 meters. And you can't help feeling that if Balmer had got the line around that last corner right, he might still have taken that out. But in the end, Fedorov won, despite having to chase back. Fedorov won without too much trouble.
Marvelous stage triumph. How was the impression in the finish area for you?
Поздравляю тебя с победой, ну и спрашиваю последние километры, как прошли.
Спасибо большое за поздравления на последние километры. Ну, с самого старта гонка была тяжелая. Был боковой ветер, там отъехало человек 20, потом в гору все меньше народу было. После горы пошли атаки. Я атаканул, переложился, который ехал, лидировал. И уже с ним последний.
No, just thanks a lot for congratulations. I said, okay, it's our plan today. Control the race, try to win the stage, take the jersey if it's possible, and okay, the races also start with a little bit nervous with the windy, and then we're going breakaway with the Sochi guys and going end of the line, and then okay, he said I need to try for could we win the stage, and then he try and then come back to catch the guy in the front, and it's nice to win, especially with the jersey Asian champion.
How was it in the last corner to the finish area? Where did you know that you will win this stage?
Как это было все на последнем вираже? Ты понимал, что ты выиграешь этап? Какие были эмоции?
Километр я, получается, думал, поворот будет направо, там, где мотоциклы стояли. И все, я уже думал. И он отъехал на метров 20, я его поддержал, и последний поворот ходом начал заходить, я уже понял, что выиграл.
He did mistake in 1K to go. He wanted to turn right, and then I don't know why, but okay. And the guy just attacked going end of the finish, and he catch him last corner. We already explained well how his finish, and then he did his best, and then of course he's happy to win.
Great. How are your ambitions for tomorrow then?
Какие задачи на завтра?
Завтра будет новый день, завтра посмотрим уже.
Today I'm happy to win. Tomorrow we'll see.
Thank you very much. Congratulations again.
Well, the big boss himself helped out with the translations there. Michael Hutchinson and myself, Jose Bain, will be back tomorrow, same time. So an early morning stage, and then that is 9 a.m. for you. And then from midday, we continue with stage 4, of course, of the Giro d'Italia, who have made it to Italy today. So the first real espressos will have been drunk already, Michael. Some proper coffee for the riders and one climb on the road tomorrow in the Giro d'Italia. And on paper, for us here in Azerbaijan, the easiest stage of the 5. But maybe there we wind again, so it could be exciting.
It looks sprinty on paper. But then today did not really go the way no point did today's race go the way we expected it to go.
Oh, it's been great. I think we haven't seen the top 10.
Congratulations, team manager of the XTS Astana team. How happy are you with the stage win of your rider today?
Of course, I'm very happy for this win, especially, you know, it's, for this kind of country. We always motivated to support this race, and the first race in the last, I think, we restart again from last 8 years, I think. But we are happy to be here, the part of this race, and of course to win the race is always, we are happy, and congratulations again for our team, well done. And okay, we try to keep it our jersey end of the line, end of the finish, end of the Baku is our first goal. And thanks again for the invitation. It's a great race. I enjoy this country.
It's your first time here in Azerbaijan with your team, I guess. How is your impression of the organization and of the feeling, of the spirit at the track?
Very nice, very nice. I would like to just congratulate again the organization. It's not my first time in Azerbaijan, but it's first time with the race. Of course, I'm happy. Very nice. It's good level. I think for next year maybe we can go up one step more, because the people here, supporters here in organization, I think, nice.
Thank you. You said you're a bit modest for the upcoming days, but can you say where is the stage where your team will improve or will set certain values?
But I think this last stage will be difficult. Yeah, I think we try to keep the jersey, and then we'll see the last stage. I think will be difficult. We have Henok also in good condition. Gate is here. But today we show we have the team, and I'm happy. We try to do our best, you know, and especially with the Giro d'Italia, you know, the guys are very motivated with the Victor Silva, and of course my congratulations for the team today's rest, and I would like to maybe to jump direct to the Napoli to support also the team, you know. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck for your team, and all the best. See you again.
Yeah, it is remarkable to have Vinokurov here in Azerbaijan, and of course not in a Giro where his rider is actually in the leader's jersey.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I think we haven't seen the top 10 just yet, so I'll just give it to you of our friends of Pro Cycling Stats. Fedorov wins ahead of Alex Balmer, Erik Vagundes, Santi Umba, Aaron Gates, Christian Rai-Leano, Henok Mulleberan, Lennart Teugels, David Delgado and Callum Johnston in 10th place. That is the top 10, with of course our new race leader, Yevgeny Fedorov. We didn't have the graphics on screen, did we?
No, we didn't.
No, but that was the top 10, and we'll probably get graphics as well. This is the Giro d'Italia, and we are finally in Italia. The flag of Uruguay is there for Thomas Silva. We already had 2 stage wins for Paul Magnier, but yeah, stage 4 from Catanzaro to Cosenza, a very short one, very uncharacteristic for the Giro d'Italia, 138 kilometers with a pretty gnarly climb at about 40 kilometers from the line in Cosenza. So let's see what will happen there. We will be live, of course, from start to finish again from midday tomorrow. Now, I should say 1 o'clock, of course. It's a very short stage. Live tomorrow with the commentators ready for you from 1 p.m. Italian time. 1 p.m. British time, 2 p.m. Italian time, making a completeness of it right now. Just check your local listings, Michael, in your TV guide.
Yeah, short stage at the Giro. I think it's on a 4th cat climb. No, 2nd cat climb maybe. So.
This is actually... Oh, don't take off the head. Kids will cry. It's time for a highlights reel of stage 2 of the Baku-Khankendi Azerbaijan cycling race and its official title. We started the day with Alexei Shnirko in the leader's jersey. 137 riders are taking the start. Mr. Hofer as the race director in the first car. On the menu, 2 intermediate sprints, 2 climbs of the second category and 1 climb of the first category. And then from the start, basically, it was echelon chaos with a very powerful southern wind, and we ended up with a group of 35 riders. Kiss to the family there from Pablo Carrascosa and Gleb Syriza. Initially was in that first group, the man in the points jersey, runner-up of stage 1. But when the road started to rise, it would of course become a little bit more difficult for Gleb Syriza as a rider with a sprinter profile. And the group gradually would become smaller and smaller. Lennart Teugels picked up the points at the 2 second category climbs. The intermediate sprints were won by Mullaveran and the second one by Aaron Gate. And this is at around 42 kilometers from the line. An attack by Alex Balmer, the man from Switzerland, representing Solution Tech Nippo Rally. And this group, with his teammate Santi Umba there, would become smaller and smaller. And, well, the gap on the climb for Alex Balmer initially was around the 45-second mark. But, yeah, it became smaller and smaller, and he defended fantastically a lead of just 20-25 seconds for quite some time, while there was some proper junior racing going on behind him, where riders attacked, and stalled again. But one decisive attack from the bunch came when Yevgeny Fedorov made it across to Alex Balmer. Balmer picked up the points there, 10 points on the first category climb, but luckily Lennart Teugels managed to come across the top of that first cat climb in second place and takes the mountain jersey off the shoulders of his teammate. This is how close they actually were at a certain point to Alex Balmer. But he just soldiered on, put his head down and kept on fighting as we passed the Nassim Gardens there, where all these people are celebrating with the Azerbaijani flags. They could almost touch him at a certain point, Alex Balmer, and this is, you can almost see on his face, like, am I going to continue this effort? Well, why not? I'm just going all in, and that's exactly what he did, reaching speeds up to 85, even 90 kilometers an hour. In the end, Fedorov did make it across to him, and it was these cornering skills by the Kazakh and Asian continental champion that brought him the win and the race lead. Alex Balmer in second place, and Eric Fagundes from Burgos Burpellet BH, the man from Uruguay, in third place. Here we are with the podiums. We already have Fagundes on the podium there of Burgos Burpellet.
Second place of the day.
And there is Alex Balmer.
Solution Tech Nippo Rally, Alexandre Balmer.
If he pulled it off, Michael, he could be in the top 5 of winning solos of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. Getting in the same league of Tadej Pogacar and
I was going to say, yes. It never felt like he was really on his own, because he was never that far in front of the group.
It was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it was a great effort, and I wouldn't begrudge Evgeny Fedorov the win, but I was Team Balmer on that one.
Yeah, but everybody loves an underdog win, don't they?
Yeah. Everyone loves an underdog win, and the only weapon I ever had in my armory was the long-range solo attack. So, always on the side of that guy.
Ex-Lias Astana, the only World Tour team at the start here, and they have their first stage win.
İkinci yerin sahibine mükafatı İsmail Raylıcı Hakimiyet'in başçısı Cenab Nahid Bagrov takdim edilir. And the winner will be honored by Mr. Sahib Alakbarov, First Vice President of Azerbaijan Cycling Federation and Head of Organization Committee. Ve ikinci merhalenin galibine mükafatı takdim edilir. Cenab Sahib Alakbarov, Azerbaycan Velosiped İdmanı Federasyası'nın birinci vitse-prezidenti ve Baku-Khankendi, Azerbaycan Velosiped yarışının teşkilat komitesinin
The Azerbaijani language closely linked to modern day Turkish, as of course it's part of the Turkic language family. And if you've listened to or watched the Tour of Turkey last week, or 2 weeks ago even, you might actually recognize some of the sounds and spellings. I'm especially obsessed with the upside down E that they have, Michael. Where do you find that on your... I can't... Well, you probably have to install different keyboard settings, but yeah, it's great. Love it.
Probably in there somewhere.
Yeah. It's the same like the Pogacar C. You have to download a Slovenian keyboard onto your iPhone to get that one. Fedorov returns to the podium to pick up the blue leader's jersey. He's got a 5-second gap on Alex Balmer. Here we finally have confirmation of the top 10. Fedorov has got a 5-second gap on Balmer, 14 on Muleberan, and then Fagundes in 4th, Gates in 5th, Aznar, Kovili, Umba. Callum Johnston moves up to 9th place at 19 seconds from the race lead, and Josh Burnett is currently 10th on GC. Still well within reach of Callum Johnston to get a really good GC result here for the Scotsman. In Callum we trust, Michael.
Yeah, that's kind of sort of the first GC stage of the race, and you can sort of see from the top GC top 10 that the good chance the overall winner is in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, most definitely in that first group today.
Yeah, we haven't got a huge number of GC contenders really, just because of the spread of the race. We can see that today from the way so many of the top teams, they all made multiple rider numbers into that front group. And we'll probably see something like that again before the end of the weekend.
Classy.
Vino living his best life.
You can just stay there, please.
And I think that's the first sight we've had of the leader's jersey, because we didn't see it on the road at any point today.
No, most definitely not. Here we have confirmation of the GC that I just mentioned to you. 5 seconds only between Fedorov and Balmer. Muleberan currently a little bit further back. We still have those bonus seconds. We've got bonus sprints every day. Tomorrow we've got 2. Wednesday we've got 2, and of course on Thursday we've got 2 as well. So that's 18 seconds bonus maximum to, or 15 maximum to get, no, 18. And of course 3 times 10 at the finish line still. So still an open race. He also gets the green points jersey. That's not a jersey that he'll wear tomorrow. It's nice that they have Vinokurov as a podium boy as well. If you have a podium girl, you have a podium boy as well.
I make the time cut today to be about 40 minutes, you say? Well,
that should be enough.
Might be 1 or 2 people quite close to it, but I would think most of them will get through.
Yeah, and if we would have 40 riders outside the time limit, the commissaires would probably reinstate them, because you don't want to lose the entire Uzbekistan or Azerbaijan national team.
Well, that's one of the instances where the timekeeper's watch unfortunately stopped.
Power outage. Who could have prevented it?
I forgot to change the battery.
We are coming to the mountain qualification.
Now, according to my calculations, Lennart Teugels is our new king of the mountains. There he is. Oh, I don't see him yet. Oh, the other side of the podium. Takes a different approach to the podium, does Lennart. Married to Finnish pro cyclist, former pro cyclist Laura, and they have a son, another year, called Elias, and they have a cat, which they have on their social media quite often as well, on a leash and a little harness. I've never seen people walk their cat, but I saw it on the feed of Lennart in the past.
Oh, I've seen that once or twice.
Yeah. And then we have to wait for confirmation who the best young rider is going to be. I think it's going to be Hugo Aznar of Baku-Khankendi, but we'll wait for confirmation. It's a red jersey for Tataletu Isorex. Yesterday it was Jorbe Laurijsen who took the jersey, and today with 17 points. It's Lennart Teugels, 17 points for him. Tomorrow, a possible 5 points to go. About halfway into the stage, we have a second category climb. And a little dolly there to take a little, what is it, a horse mascot thing to bring home to Elias.
I think that's what the mascot is.
Yeah, yeah, but Azerbaijani horses.
Left-hand side of the screen, it's some.
Yeah,
It's a tall, skinny horse.
it's well, but that is most definitely not a Karabakh horse. But the Karabakh horse is the most iconic horse of Azerbaijan, and you see it in a lot of the tourist promo videos as well. Chestnut-coloured horses, and back in the day they were so valued, so so valuable that they compared them to thoroughbred Arabian horses. Apparently, Hugo Aznar, our best young rider at the moment, part of the Baku-Khankendi team, who made it in the first echelon, in the first group, with all 6 of their riders. And that means they're still, oh, it's Iker Gomez as the first rider. We had Hugo Aznar in GC, but well, same team. Iker Gomez it is. He's not in the top 10 of GC, Michael, Iker Gomez, so I do wonder. Oh no, Hugo Aznar was born 1 month too early for the white jersey.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
But that was our podium ceremony, and that concludes our broadcast for today. Michael, we'll see you, well, I'll see you again tomorrow, 9 a.m.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully it will be as entertaining as today. Yeah.
I had a lovely time today. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was great fun. It was great fun to watch, and well, enjoy your Monday. There's no other bike racing for you to enjoy, so maybe you can catch back the final stage of the Women's Vuelta with the iconic Angliru, worth your time. We have gravel for you to watch back on our digital channels in the Netherlands, or just catch the highlights that Marty is doing today of the Vuelta Femenina. That is, well, that is tomorrow, by the way. But you can watch all the stages of the Vuelta, of course, on our digital channels, and it has been a fantastic edition of the women's race. So that's well worth your Monday afternoon, I would say. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.